So hope that gives you some context for the rules, our election night recording system, how things will happen not only on election day but after election day. And at this point, I'll take questions you have about anything that we presented here, or questions you might have that we didn't cover.
Mr. Secretary, you said you have some flexibility on the 27th day. You don't have a flexibility on the 10 days. Can you explain what you meant by
What
the
I mean
other
is
days?
that I can ask them to do this more quickly. I could ask for them to report their official results to us more quickly. That's the deadline in law which we have to do it, but I can ask them to do it more quickly if we got into a scenario where we needed to do that.
Meaning the 27th is the deadline.
Correct.
So you can say, you've got to report to me by the 20th.
That's correct.
Okay. And then you've been giving us an indication of how many absentee ballots have not been mailed in, which, those folks who, let's say, for instance, they don't mail in that ballot and they go in on election day and they would be voting a provisional ballot. Would that might help to give some idea how many of those, how many provisionals we could possibly have? Is that a figure that is going to be available, or no?
I don't think that will. I don't think that's a number that you can put much stock in. The vast majority of those ballots, as you can see by the numbers that were, the gap is closing between the numbers that were sent out. It's kind of like me in my college days. It wasn't until the assignment was due that I actually got focused and got my paper in. So the deadlines get people acting, and you're going to see that number close, and there'll be a very small number of ballots that aren't actually sent back in.
Mr. Secretary, how late is the county going to go on election night? Are we going to cut off at 3 a.m. as long as it takes?
Well, they have responsibilities to get the final canvass done and to us, and however late that takes, that's what it will be. We keep throwing out the number 3 o'clock because that's usually the time that all of that information is done.
The number the world might want to know on election night is how many outstanding provisional and absentee ballots there are. Are you saying you're not going to put that number out until the very end of the night, or can we get a running total?
We will make it available as it's reported to us, but they are under no obligation to report it until they do their final canvass. And frankly, it's important to me that they give me an accurate count. If that's a number that I want to be accurate, I am not interested in speed on that. I'm interested in them getting that right.
We'll see totals on the website.
That will be the final
when the county's
report that
reported.
comes in.
But if a county, let's say Franklin County, reports theirs at 10 o'clock, we'll see that show up in the outstanding provisional column on the website.
You should.
If they key it in.
If they key it in.
If one
It's
count
not
gets
something
done
we're
first.
requiring them to do prior to their final report. But if they provide it, we'll report it.
So that voter turnout tab where those numbers are going to be for you guys, you can continue to watch that. And this county's finished their report.
And I want to be clear on this. I'm asking the boards to give us accurate and complete information. I would rather have them report that number later and it be accurate than they give me a number at 10 o'clock that's wrong. Because that's an important number and it needs to be right.
But every county will report by the end of the night.
Every county must report in their final results at the end of the night that number.
I guess, just following up on that, your expectation is that you will get that last, that you will not get that piecemeal from around the state, right? Given your requests.
Yes.
We should not expect to see that number.
You shouldn't expect a piecemeal number on that.
Okay, and is that number going to be broken down by jurisdiction?
Yes, by county.
Okay, and will it also be broken down by how many of those are provisionals and how many of those are outstanding absentees?
Yes.
Okay.
But there will be, just so you know, that will not be the final bucket to be counted on the 17th. You still have ballots that were mailed on the 5th or the 4th that didn't come in time, ballots that got mailed that the boards couldn't process in time, military ballots that come in during that time. So that number is still not the number.
Okay, you just confused
That
me.
will be Excuse me?
You just confused me there because I thought that the outstanding absentee ballot number was those that haven't been returned, so they're only really potential votes, right?
Well, you can have potential votes, but not actual ballots.
Right, so when you say absentee ballots that haven't been counted yet, you're talking about votes that have been cast that they haven't counted yet? That's this bucket? Or am I just confused?
Well, maybe I'm misunderstanding. Again, let me give you an example. An absentee ballot that gets mailed in on Monday. All right, the post office comes at 4:30 on Tuesday and drops it off. The board is not going to process that on election. They will not have time to check that information and to process that ballot on election day. It just will have arrived too late for them to physically do that and to provide the security of knowing that all of that information matched against the signature on the voter file is correct. So what you will see that night, and Matt, Scott, you correct me if you're going to see all of the information report. You'll see the number of provisional ballots cast that day. But what I want to be clear about, and it's important to know, is that when you add up all of those numbers, that's not all of the numbers that will be part of the official canvass on the 17th. That will include additional legally cast but late arriving ballots. And the categories for that would be absentee ballots, military ballots. Or, that's it.
And I think it's just, my understanding, I think it's just being reversed here. There'll be a number out there for not returned absentees. Some of those won't ever come in.
Right.
Some of those won't ever come in. The ones that come in, there'll be a bigger number. And I think what the Secretary's talking about is that number out there will never total. If the number's 1,000, it won't ever be 1,000. There'll be some that never get returned. There'll be some that'll be double counted because someone will have requested an absentee and cast a provisional. So some will be
only
double.
One of those vote.
And only one of those.
The absentee ballot
it'll
counts,
look
not the
like two
provisional
outstanding,
ballot.
but someone will cast a provisional.
But on election night, nobody's going to have enough time to take, so that the voter who requested the absentee ballot but shows up at the poll, therefore is ending up in the provisional category, is also going to still be in the category of outstanding absentee until such time as it can be.
Yes, and again,
right, okay.
When you have a system like Ohio that bends over backwards to create all of these conveniences for voters, the challenge is on those elections officials to sort that out at the end, which makes the reporting of this information something that is less than efficient. But it's in an attempt to make sure that everybody who wants to cast a vote does cast a vote, and that we go through every effort to make sure that that vote gets counted. But I just want to be clear about that, is that number, you know, I don't want folks to say, well, gee, there were 150,000 ballots now, but now there's 160. Well, the reason that there's 160 down the road is because there were a number of legally cast ballots before that didn't come in until after Election Day, that then get later reported in the official canvass.
I hate to belabor this, I just want to make sure I understand. The number that the counties will report on election night of the absentee ballots, so you have the provisionals and the absentees, right? I'm not talking about the ones that they actually tabulated. The end of the night number of the outstanding votes. In the category of the absentees, those will be votes that they know have been cast but they have not yet had a chance to tabulate, or those will be that plus the outstanding requests?
It'll be the number that the board reports as the number of absentees issued that they haven't logged as having come in. And so there's lots of subcategories of those the Secretary's talked about, but it's kind of that's the number that will be out there as the question mark of what comes in, what doesn't. And as the Secretary mentioned, it'll float just a little bit as boards afterwards between the election day and the canvass, as they sort through things and find out, well, this was also here. But that's the number to look at in terms of maximum outstanding ballots not yet included in the unofficial meetings.
Can I talk to you guys after so I don't monopolize this?
Yeah,
just to
you
make
sure
sure?
can.